next week before the music break. Given we have some people who are focused only on one or two topics within the group, I feel compelled to address it publicly. And the first one is my stance on 5G. And that has a plethora of people concerned on levels that I feel doesn't warrant it. But that is my opinion. Nobody asks you to agree with it. But it looks to me, to all intents and purposes, a driven agenda in the alt community to divert attention and more recently divide the groups. You know, we've all seen this before. Nibiru, NESARA, Global Classic Accounts, the RV, Jade Helm, FEMA camps, trains with guillotines and coffins, and the previous attempts, chemtrails. Now, I discounted all of them as fear porn or distraction, apart from the Global Classic Accounts and Keenan, but that ended back in 2014. Really, it ended in October 13. Certainly privately, if not publicly. But chemtrails, Nibiru and Jade Helm, I said it would come to nothing. And not that it matters to me that I was proven right. The issue is they were all distractions. Of course, the other one was the FEMA guillotine trains and coffins. And as forecasted, it never happened. Chemtrails in and of itself has not had the effect the way alt media reported it either. Otherwise, none of us would be here now. That is a fact. And it just moves from one fear platform to another. And this is what people have to ask and think better. You know, for well over a decade now, they've been chemtrailing. Has it had an effect? We're all still here. Some will say, well, some got Magellans. But can that be proven to be due to chemtrails? Or have you considered the fact that it was the DOD who dropped Magellans out of the sky? After all, they have revealed recently about dropping typhus, syphilis and Lyme disease on the American populace, have they not? And who knows what else will be revealed in future Freedom of Information Act releases. And then we come back to the 5G. Like I've said repeatedly, where was the outrage over 1G, 2G, 3 or 4G? Why wasn't there the same focus on that in the alt media? Because certain individuals were promoting other fear porn is why. And what's happened now, their other fear programs, Nibiru, Jade Helm, chemtrails, have all failed. Then they bring a new one to the table. You know, I've been in this game long enough now to see how these people think and work. They throw out a narrative and get agents to push it, and then get non-deep enough thinking people to then drive the narrative within the group. It's the same with Flat Earth. It doesn't matter what shape it is. It's not going to change anything at all. But the main purpose is they use fear often as a way of dragging people's vibration down. That is a deliberate tactic they've used on the American people for at least the last 70 years. Someone or something is coming to get them. The commies, the Russians, the Muslims, African killer bees, viruses. And the classic psyop of Orson Welles and H.G. Wells' novel, both of whom were part of the elites, I might add, agenda program back in 1938 when they ran the broadcast, the Martians are coming for them, and caused some panic. the levels of which are not fully known. But these are the part of the American psyche to play fear on the public. Why? Because the main body of America has never been attacked. And so they use other methods to create fear. Now, neither Hawaii or Alaska, for that matter, are really America. Check your history if you think different. But the Hawaii attack was known ahead of the event, and that could have been prevented. Now, for some reason, the elites decided mainland America would not be attacked. 2 world wars, there was no planes flying over mainland America bombing the cities. And so what happens then is the people get comfortable in that fact. So then they create the boogeyman and the fear programs to keep those people in fear. You know, most of the rest of the world largely all experienced being attacked or bombed in the last 100 years or so. And it's stored in the memory and passed down the generations. But this is what they're doing. It's all fear. Do I think 5G is good? No. Did you hear that clearly? Because we have other alternatives when the people push the system hard enough and make the changes, is why. Do I think it is as bad as some suggest? No again. Why? Because until somebody shows me the elite people have some sort of special hat or anti-5G tablets preventing them from being harmed by it, it literally makes no sense. And so the levels of fear do not correspond. Why aren't the elites running around going, ooh, 5G, 5G? They're getting the same frequencies, the same as the chemtrails. Now, when the chemtrails started, they were talking about eliminating us all. That program failed. None of it makes sense anymore. And the same with Trump. Trump is a pedo, some say. Trump is not a pedo, the others say. It's the latest to drive division. My stance on it? I do not know for certain either way whether Trump is or isn't. Which is why I cited comments from inside sources. And they all came back and said, no, he isn't. And that was what was said. But that is their opinion, not mine. Like I said, the truth is only known to those who experience. Everything else is an assumption. And for too many of what we term as knowledge, most of what we think or believe is actually an assumption. It's not fact. So trying to cause division because I cited somebody else's opinion looks to most people like an agenda. Like I said, no one really knows whether he is or he isn't. That is a fact. It is based on assumptions and opinions, and all are free to have them. But understand an assumption is not a fact. But then it becomes an issue. And if that is the only issue some people want to argue over, again, that looks like an agenda to me. The same applies to the God in the Bible. Your 5 senses cannot prove that the God in the book exists. And so the God in the book is not proven as fact. It's only assumption. It's a belief and an assumption, neither of which are fact. And take note, I said the God in the book for a reason. And the main point of all this is, say Trump or anyone else in the government is a pedo. What does it change in your life? Now, you may jump up and down when it's proven one way or other because your assumption was right. And great, we've all done that. But then the real question is, what happens next? Say Trump is. Does he get replaced by Pence, Pelosi, Hillary, Cruz, Jeb Bush, Liz Cheney, Bernie Sanders, Biden? What has that changed in real terms if that is the case? The answer is nothing. Except in some respects, to the alleged victims, they may feel they have gained some justice. They're the only ones that are really affected by this. But the key factor is for the victims only. It doesn't take away their memories or the pain of it by proving A, B or C was a pedo. Those that have had the misfortune to have been victims will all tell you that. The pain and the memory remains. So if it doesn't drastically alter their life, why is it even affecting ours? You know, the quicker we get all the pedos off the street and out of the way of children, I'm all for that. But we do have authorities and people designated to take care of that role. Far more prevalent than is being reported in the alt media or the mainstream media, I might add. Now, there are 16 to 18,000 words on average per show each week, and people want to focus on less than 15 of them in shows dating back 2 months ago or even 2 years ago. Is suggestive of looking for faults in the narrative rather than learning more on the plethora of subjects and topics that I covered in the show. Do I get it all right? No, as evidenced by the opening statement. That was mentioned as a rumour. But unlike others, I'm prepared to correct statements I've said when proven wrong. Now, if only people would do that in return, how much of a better world would we all have? I'll be back shortly.